Okay, so once again, if you're unfamiliar, when I do the really geeky things or the comic book movies, I tend to give my overall thoughts very early on here, and then I do a really big spoiler section, and there's kind of these two break points in between. So, okay, I'm going to give my overall thoughts, then a big spoiler section, so if you need to skip, you'll know where to do that, okay? Okay. So overall, I'm going to give James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, I guess that's the way we differentiate things, I'm going to give it a low A. Overall, some great performances and cast chemistry combined with some really nicely done action set pieces make up for an unwieldy plot with a really clunky narrative that continuously bounces back and forth when it kind of doesn't need to and attempts to be a little too quirky for its own good. However, again, like I said, this is more than a worthy recommendation. Obviously, don't take your kids to this because it's rated R, but if you're down for a good, raunchy, fun superhero movie, this will be right up your alley. So yes, The Suicide Squad gets an A.
They're coming from all corners of the universe to a Burger King near you. The Superpowers Cup Holders. Only Burger King puts them under your child's command. When they buy a soft drink, they can get a Superpowers Cup Holder to play with for just $1.24. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Darkseid. $1.24 each. Collect all four while you can, because the Superpowers team is headed for other galaxies.
Okay, again, this is a spoiler section. Skip to the next little commercial bit so you know when to avoid the spoilers. Okay? Okay, so this movie kind of concerns the Suicide Squad, still run by Amanda Waller. It's part sequel kind of reboot. Like, obviously the fact they have Viola Davis back, the guy who played Rick Flagg in the first one's back. So, I think, and of course Margot Robbie is Harley Quinn. And they have made a couple of references back to the previous films, so it's not huge ones, but it's sort of a, we get the idea. And we see them recruiting new members, including Savant, who's played by Michael Rooker. We also see Blackguard, TDK, Weasel. Oh, what's the other one? Here, let's look at the notes. TDK, Blackguard, Mongal, who is the female or sister of Mongol, a Superman villain. Oh boy, what did I write here? Like I said, Weasel, Harley Quinn, Rick Flag, Blackguard. What's this other one? Savant. Yeah, and right off the bat, they're kind of flailing around because they're not completely used to this. Blackguard is Peter Davison's character, or Davidson. Pete Davidson. Peter Davison's the Fifth Doctor. Is that character, and he starts, and right off the bat, like we see, these kind of goofy things going on at the Task Force X headquarters, where they're doing a betting pool on who dies first and who's most likely to get killed during the mission anyway, whether they die first or not. And like right off the bat, they're doing a water landing, and it turns out Weasel can't swim, and he immediately drowns. And so right off, and there's just as this all turns out. Oh, Captain Boomerang, that's the other person who's in that. And as this happens, Blackguard tries to turn everyone in when they're confronted by this military group, and his face gets blown off. Javelin, who's the other one, he gets killed. Boomerang gets killed when Mongal attacks a helicopter and causes the whole thing to crash. And basically, it looks like everyone is killed except for Savant, who deserts, and his head gets blown up for good measure. TDK is Nathan Fillion's character. He is the detachable kid, and basically his arms come off, and they very slowly move around and like slap people, and they're like, "Wow, that's really lame." And I think that's where things start to clue in that this is a little off. And it turns out, this was actually the distraction team that was fodder for the real Suicide Squad, consisting of Idris Elba's Bloodsport, John Cena's Peacemaker, King Shark, Ratcatcher 2, and Polka Dot Man. And we'll get a little bit into their characters a little bit here. Obviously King Shark is part man, part shark. It's believed he's a descendant of some Spanish deity, and he eats people, and he's not very liquid. He's the big stupid lug of the group. And Peacemaker and Bloodsport are kind of the same person. except Bloodsport's a little more... Peacemaker is very rigid to the military code and everything, and Bloodsport tends to play more by his own rules, and it turns out he actually served with Rick Flagg in a couple of missions before turning into a mercenary. Yeah, he's the new Deadshot, which, at that point, just do Deadshot. Like, okay, you didn't bring back Will Smith. If you're trying to take this in a new direction anyway, who cares if you don't have actor continuity at that point? Anyway, I mean, Elba's fine in the role, though. And he's kind of got leveraged by Waller because his daughter, who he's very estranged from, got caught stealing, but since she's 16, she can wind up serving adult prison time because it's in Louisiana. And she can wind up being in the exact same prison that he is. And so and the idea is they have to infiltrate the island of Costa Norte and Corda Maltese. That's what it is, Corda Maltese, where it turns out this alien being called Starro is being housed by a military group that just overthrew the local government, and they're in league with another villain named the Thinker, played by Peter Capaldi. And their idea is, hey, you got to get to the Thinker and use him to infiltrate this and destroy what they call Project Starfish. This is an old DC villain named Starro the Conqueror, who is basically this giant starfish from outer space who, when approaching a planet, begins basically reproducing, firing off these babies who attach themselves to humans' faces and basically puppeteer their bodies after that. So that's the story there. And from there, it's just basically kind of wild shenanigans. It turns out that both Flagg and Harley Quinn are still alive. Flagg was actually taken in by a group of resistant fighters, and Harley Quinn was brought to this new leader, General Mateo, who's this really kind of handsome guy, and he starts putting the moves on her, and she seems really open to it, even to the point that she accepts his marriage proposal. But then he starts talking about how he's going to start rounding up dissidents, including children, and feeding them to Project Starfish, as it's called. And that proves to be too much, and she kills him. So she gets thrown in prison, and the other group finds out about this after being reunited with Flagg. So they have to work this kind of two-tiered front to overthrow the government, rescue Harley Quinn, then get to this building where Starro is being held. And a little bit along the way, we get some more development. Ratcatcher is the the daughter of the original Ratcatcher, who has the ability to, who has a device that can telepathically communicate with rats and manipulate them. And this is not helpful for Bloodsport, who it turns out is really afraid of rats and doesn't like them, because his abusive father once left him in a crate full of rats who just gnawed on him through the whole night. And she was very close to her father, and her father was a heroin addict, and he died, and so she came to America and was arrested in an armed robbery because she was just trying to make a living, she was basically stealing, but got arrested for it anyway. And then Polka Dot Man is a guy who was experimented on by his mother, who infected him with an interdimensional virus, and basically the polka dots appear on his skin, first as lesions, and they start making him really swell up, and if he doesn't expel them, they'll make him explode. And they're these really kind of almost necrotizing polka dots, where if they make contact with any living material, they start destroying things, basically. And so we kind of get from there, and this is where the action really does pick up, because like I said, that's where the unwieldy part of the plot is. And so they start working to infiltrate Jotunheim, or Jotunheim is the tower where the Starro is being kept. They start blowing everything up, but it's then that the Thinker reveals the actual twist, which is, this was actually funded by the United States government, and the previous regime was okay with it. And now the new regime wants to unleash Starro and try to take over, sort of. Excuse me. Okay, sorry, allergies are still a little left over there. Anyway, like I said, this turns out Starro the Conqueror was found by United States astronauts and brought to the United States, but they don't want to tinker with it on their own soil because, hey, if something goes wrong and a bunch of Americans get killed, we look like idiots. So they set up the deal with the Corto Maltese people, with the original regime that was in charge, not the paramilitary group, Then the other guy that Harley Quinn took over, and he's like, no, we now have something we can use as a bargaining chip to become a world power. However, his underling, who takes over after Harley Quinn kills him, says, no, we're just going to unleash this and take over ourselves. And Flagg finally snaps because they're tired of constantly having to clean up what he says is Waller's mess, or the United States government's mess. And it's at this point that Peacemaker turns on him because he was instructed to kill anyone who tried to undermine him. And he and Flagg fight over this hard drive with the evidence on it. At this point, the bombs go off that they had set in the building to explode. Everything kind of collapses on them. But Peacemaker winds up killing Flagg, and Ratcatcher sees this, and she grabs the hard drive, manages to get it to Bloodsport, who uploads it to a secure server. So after Starro's unleash, and the whole group has to work together and fight the fight Starro, and eventually win. They now have some leverage to gain a little bit more freedom, which they obviously do. Bloodsport's daughter is basically, has her charges dropped against her. He says, if you ever do that again, I'm going to let this out, because this is, I think he manages to buy freedom for all of them and the deactivation of the device in their head. Unfortunately, like the two big deaths that happen, the first is Rick Flagg. As I said, Peacemaker kills him. Then Bloodsport kills Peacemaker. Polka Dot Man starts having an effect against Starro, but he gets crushed by a tendril. It looks like a couple of times the King Shark is going to be killed, but he doesn't. At one point, King Shark finds this aquarium with these little kind of cute, multicolored, blobby fish that are in there, but then they reveal they all have, like piranha teeth. They start chomping on him, and he has to kind of fight back. And at another point, Starro throws him into a building, but he survives all that. And like I said, it's sort of implied that they get their freedom. Waller tries to activate the destruct devices in their skulls, but the other people, because Waller's just been so hard on them and right on their asses so bad, finally snap and knock her unconscious, and so she's taken out. But she comes back and she's in charge again. But as punishment, it turns out Peacemaker is still alive, and they have to basically meditate him back because he's going to be the new leader of the Suicide Squad. Okay, that was in a post-credit scene. There's also a mid-credit scene where it turns out Weasel was still alive, and now he's running around Corto Maltese. Like I said, the plot, it starts out really unwieldy, but once it gets going, it's really fun. Once the action set pieces start up, it more than makes up for, again, the clunkiness of the plot. And again, the overall cast chemistry is really good and fun. Like I said, way too many action set pieces to try to describe here, but overall we get, giant monster destruction, we get military battles, we get secret commando infiltration, we kind of get some spy stuff, we get some stuff with, big stunts and the equivalent of dangling over a cliff. Javelin gets killed, and he passes his javelin on to Harley Quinn, who thinks it's important for some reason, but she doesn't know why, and so she just keeps carrying it around the whole time. It's sort of implied that she and Flagg have kind of a relationship, and she's really upset when he's killed. But other than that, there's not too much more than that. So, like I said, overall, it's really fun. It's really enjoyable. You're going to have a good time watching this. That's why I gave it an A.
DC. Comics. Incredible. Action. Astonishing. Adventure. The coolest heroes. The bravest heroines. And the most outrageous villain.
Too tough for TV.
In the universe. DC Comics. Read them and love them.
Okay, trailer time, and we again have quite a few new trailers here. I guess because we were playing before an R-rated movie, we're not going to get like a family film or anything before that, so probably makes a little bit more sense. First off was Malignant, which is the new kind of demonic possession movie that James Wan is either producing or directing. It's about a woman whose imaginary friend has been haunting her through her whole life and has been killing anyone who sort of threatens her, and she sees the visions of the people that the friend kills. After that we had Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Then we had Candyman, which is the movie we're going to be reviewing next time in a few weeks. Then we have Shang-Chi again, which is, of course, the movie which is coming out right after Candyman. So, yeah, I should have maybe paid attention to release dates when that happened. But, yeah. Like I said, we'll be doing Shang-Chi after that. Then Halloween Kills, Jackass Forever, and then you got the Red Band trailer for Don't Breathe 2. I don't think I ever talked about Don't Breathe 1. It was a very unique little horror movie, but I think overall it got a little too dark, and like now they're trying to turn him into an overall bad guy, not remembering what he did in the original movie, or what the sort of twist was there that happened with that. So, yeah, I'm a little iffy on that, but like I said, I'm not seeing anything for the rest of August except Candyman, so, and then Shang-Chi in September, and I don't know if I'll see anything in September until, October is probably going to be a bit busier month there. Okay, so the next video up is probably going to be the random trade review on Green Arrow, The Archer's Quest. After that, I believe it'll be SummerSlam, and then the NXT TakeOver. There might be a video in between there or just after those, which goes over a bit more of the itinerary and what I have some plans for doing, because there's something kind of happening with Labor Day weekend that I need to get into. But still, we should be having some fun there. See you all next time. Hey guys, remember, you can help support my channel at patreon.com/SleepyTimeForCat Productions, where you can help request a movie, even if it's something like, say, Sonic the Hedgehog or the next Purge film. I'll review it.